Great afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very special session of Lunch and Learn with OTrain. We're focusing on DISC today and how to use it on with managing your people on a day-to-day basis, not just on a once-off. We've got a great panel today. We've got Shane, CEO of OTrain, joining us as co-host, and Rob Coy from Kybizin, who is based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, who will be our expert today. So we'll introduce him very, very soon. But first of all, let's go over to our co-host. Welcome, Shane. How are you this afternoon?
Fantastic. Thanks, Emma. Fantastic. Thanks. Hi to everybody who's working at home. You'll notice today Emma and I aren't in the same room. That's because she's on the other side of the globe, coming to us live from New Orleans. So, hi, Emma. Thanks for making the time.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me to host. You know I love to host, and this is a very, very special one. DISC is very close to my heart. It's very, very powerful. But first we're going to get an update on what's been happening with OTrain over the last 2 weeks. Shane, fill us in. What have you been doing?
So we've had an incredibly busy couple of weeks. The main things that we wanted to share with everybody is actually the launch of our knowledge base and live chat service. So Sherry and the team have been working pretty hard over the last month or two, creating some user guides, admin manuals, doing some screenshots and some videos on essentially how to use our software, and that's for anybody at any level. Of course, it's very intuitive, so they don't need them, but we have had some requests, so we've launched it live. So you can see that at kb.otrain.com.au. That's kb.otrain.com.au. Or you can chat to us from our website or any of our training room sites just by selecting the chat box, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. And we love to chat. So if you are online, say good day. See who's hanging out.
Talking about chat, if you are watching this live, then please, if you have any questions for our expert Rob Coy today, type them into the Q&A box just below this screen, and we will do our best to have them answered. Now, just a quick question for you, Shane. What sort of client are you looking to service with that new product that you have?
Well, it's not really a product, Emma. It's a knowledge base or user guide, help guide thing. But it's really about helping our clients get a better understanding of the system. And typically, what we've found is that most of our clients use our system, fairly easily. But like most bits of software, they're only using a small percentage of what it can do. So what we're trying to do, I guess, is give them access to some information on how to use it more and how to really drill in and do more with the system and get more out of it.
Excellent. We've actually had just a quick question come through for you, Shane. It's a funny one. Shane, where are you today? You've got a different background.
Yeah, so good pickup. I'm actually in our studio here in our Toowoomba office, so you can see the green screen in the background, the teleprompter and the lights, I think they're somewhere. So we're actually having all the glass windows in our office replaced today. So I've had to come right to the other end of the building to try and get away from the noise and the banging, and hopefully we won't get too much of that through the course of the recording.
So what do you use that for, Shane?
Geez,
the
Emma,
recording
this is all about
studio.
So you and I have used this to do some promotions for Lunch and Learns, but we also use it to record training. So clients come in here to do, promotional videos or messages from the CEO in their induction or onboarding. We also do training, and we've got a new program that I don't want to give too much away, but on recruiting staff, using some top grading and some of those sorts of things, which, a lot of the visual and presentation from me is recorded here in the studio, and then cut up by Sam, our AV guy, who inserts PowerPoint and does all sorts of wonderful things such as impressive backgrounds.
Fantastic. Now, I'm not going to leave our expert hanging any longer. I'm very excited to introduce Rob Coy from Kybizin. So, Shane, you're going to conduct an interview, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Rob, thanks for joining us, and thanks for indulging Emma as she grilled me this morning, most unexpected.
Thanks, Shane.
So, Rob, we might start. Just give us your background. How did you sort of get to here, get to Kaizen, and how did you get to know about DISC?
Oh, that's a long story. I'll cut it fairly short. I suppose I'm a diesel fitter by trade, and I was promoted up through into the management area of in the industry And as soon as I got into that management, people management, I started to realise that I didn't have the skills that were required to manage people, because it was, I could go and fix a bulldozer, but dealing with a bulldozer was completely different to dealing with people. And I suppose the crunch really came one day when my wife told me that she wouldn't work for me. And I thought, well, okay, why not? And she said, because you're a so-and-so when you deal with your people. I thought, oh, well, that's great. So it was from there that I realised that I had to do a lot of development on people management skills. And this was one of the first things that I was introduced to. So it's really close to my heart, and it's an awesome tool to deal with when you're dealing with people. And as I progressed up and studied this, and then I started to study human behaviour. I've been studying human behaviour since I was about 35. I decided then that university was the way to go, so I put myself through university. I studied an MBA majoring in human resources, and during that study, there was a lot of human behaviour, organisational psychology, that sort of stuff in that, which was all useful when we were dealing with people. Then I actually studied this for a while, and I was accredited to deliver this, and I used that predominantly in people management, day-to-day people management of my team. I progressed then up into engineering as well, which was quite deep, because it was just people management, because I'm not an engineer myself. After that, I had a life-changing moment, and I left the maintenance field and went into HR consulting. So I was a HR consultant for a few years. I used this a lot in groups, delivering this training to a lot of groups, delivering this training to a lot of managers, and using it and showing them how to use it in their day-to-day management of people. Then 10 years. Sorry.
Fantastic. So you've had I guess you've had a from the trenches, experience of managing people, being around people, finding the tool, and then implementing and using the tool, and now building a second career or third career, possibly even, on the back of what you've learned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all been experience and learning all the way. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, Rob, what is DISC? Tell us what DISC is.
Well, to me, DISC is it's a tool. It's only a tool, and it's what I classify it as. It's a behavioural style inventory, and it shows what it does is it shows your preferred behavioural style. And I say preferred because everybody behaves in different ways, but everyone has a preferred style that they use, that they prefer to use. It's a little bit like if you fold your arms, you usually fold them the one way, but you can't fold them the other way, but you prefer to fold them one way. So it's just a preference on how you behave, and those preferences indicate a lot to people that you're communicating with or you're working with, and all those sorts of things. So
So DISC is, I understand it, stands for 4 areas, D-I-S-C. Do you want to tell us what the 4 areas are, Rob, and what it means for?
Yeah, DISC is in quadrants, in 4 quadrants, and a lot of people say don't put me in those quadrants, but it's only a preference, and you usually do prefer to act in one of those quadrants, or 2, you put a backup. But the D is for dominant, which means that the behaviours are you decide, you're direct, you make quick decisions, you don't want much detail. The I is for influential, which means that you're full of ideas, you're a good communicator, you're out there, you're full of ideas, those sorts of things. The S is the steady, stable, so people in the S quadrant, their behaviour is usually steady, secure, safety, those are real people, they care about people. and the C is for compliance. So the quadrant C is the behaviours are normally a lot of detail, very compliant. They're really really detailed in what they do, and they need a lot of detail before they make a decision.
Okay, so we've got 4 personality types: dominant, influential, steady or stable, and compliant.
Yep.
What we can identify people and their preferred characteristic or preferred behaviour pattern in one of those 4 quadrants. How do we use it?
Well, once you know this and you realise that people do have a preference in behaviour, you can usually predict how they're going to react in different circumstances. You can learn how they prefer to communicate. Therefore, then if you know yourself and know your style, you can actually adapt your style to their style, which is the best out of it. Because you get more out of people when you adapt to their style, because they're more likely to listen to you. They're more likely to take what you're saying on board, and you get a lot better results out of your people when you do that sort of thing.
Okay, so I remember a mentor of mine saying once, don't do unto people as you would have done unto yourself, do unto people as they want to be done unto.
Yep.
Bit of a mouthful, but essentially saying when, change your patterns of behaviour to reflect theirs, it's a much better way to manage.
Yeah, it is, because if you can change your behaviour or adapt, it's not so much change, it's adapt to their style, you're going to hold their attention much longer. When you're talking to someone that they glaze over, it'll be that you're not communicating with their style, and they just switch off. And every style has a different switch off time or a different switch off topic, and the amount of detail or the pace of giving it and things like that. So it's about knowing how you prefer, and then knowing the other person and adapting your style to their style to the best out.
Okay, so when I was running my recruitment company, we'd often use DISC to profile people, I guess, to get an understanding of their personality style, to consider the role that they might be going in, and more importantly, the types of people that they might be working with, and making sure that we were putting complementary skills together, with perhaps a manager or subordinates. Do you want to talk us through some examples of where you've done that or seen that and the sorts of results that you've had?
Yeah, look, in recruitment, I worked as a recruiter for 3 years, but in my own teams, it's very important to know your team, the profile of your team, because in any team, if you haven't got one of the profiles, you've actually got a weakness in your team, because your team needs all the different styles to operate most effectively. So in all my teams, I would know their profiles. And then when I was recruiting, I would look at the profile of the team and what I was deficient in, but also look at the profile that best matched that position that I wanted. Like if you wanted detail in the position, you would tend to go to someone that was out of the compliance self-employed, or that was the secondary, the backup style. So I used to use it all the time to make sure that I had a most effective team that I could do.
So you think in any team it's important to have all 4 quadrants covered and have someone in each of the seats?
Yeah, it is important to have it in any team. It is important, because if you don't, you've got a weakness in the team, because every one of those quadrants has a preferred attribute, and they have strengths and they have weaknesses. And if you don't cover the weaknesses in your team, your team is deficient in some area.
Okay, great. So we've got a couple of questions that come in, and any of our regular viewers that are wondering why Emma's not joining us, she's kind of lost her voice a fair bit, so she's struggling a little bit, but she's sending me some messages and smiling there in the bottom of the screen. But Rob, the first question comes from Stephen, and he says, how is it used in the workplace? So we may have... go ahead.
Sorry.
We may have covered that a bit. We're talking about having complementary skills, and finding people in a recruitment sense to use that, and also you mentioned something about managing or changing, the way you deal with somebody. Do you want to give us an example of that?
Oh, look, there's many examples of how you deal with people. If you know yourself, like I'm a certified D, but my secondary is an S, and it's not fluctuate between the D and the S very quickly. I think can do that in my conversation. My wife sort of dumped me. She goes to communicate to me, and I might say something and say, "Oh, you're in that one today, are you?" But a prime example is that I had a very strong S working for me when I was in an office in Northampton, and I used to drive from Newton every day, and this day that I was really, really busy, and I had there was a lot of stress and a lot of things I had to do, and I used to have to walk through her office to get to my office. And normally I would stop and say good day, how are you going, and all that sort of stuff. What you do something. Anyway, this day I just walked straight through, said, how you going? And I went straight through my office and I was on the phone. And anyway, about half an hour later I had this little knock at the door. And without looking up, I just said, come in. And then there was another little knock at the door. And I looked up and it was this girl. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, what have I done wrong? And I knew straight away then what it was, that I hadn't stopped that morning and said good day to her. I said, you've done nothing wrong. She said, you're cranky with me. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm just really busy. So it's just all those little things that you've got to remember to keep your staff really motivated and happy. You've got to think about what their behaviours they prefer and what style they are and cater for them.
And that's really important because people typically don't leave jobs, they leave bosses. So, in that circumstance, you're in a hurry, you're busy, you're not necessarily short with the person, but you're short with the person. They take offence. Next thing, they're looking for a new job, when actually there was no problem there. It was just that mismatch of personality styles.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's all about their perception of your behaviour. Yeah. And we're the ones that are we're aware of the disc. It's our responsibility then to use the disc to make sure that our team is easy and happy.
I have two kids. I have a son who's a D-type personality and a daughter who's a C-type personality. And it's always interesting when I ask them, how was your day? Because my son, being dominant and direct, he says, good. And that's about as much as I get. And my daughter, being the compliant, details, cautious, analytical type, she says, well, the alarm went off at 5:55 and I hit snooze and rolled over till 6, and then at 6:03 I got out of bed, and 20 minutes later I'm thinking, why did I ask?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I have 3 children and I have 3 different ones. I have an I have a C, and I have an F. And you've got to deal with each one of them differently.
Okay, so Jenny said in a question, and she said, typically, what are the roles for the 4 personality types, or are there even roles for the 4 personality types?
There's not dead set roles for the 4 personality types, but some personalities actually are better suited to some roles. Like an accountant, if you didn't have someone that had a lot of the compliance program in them, you would wonder whether they were going to be detailed enough or make sure the figures really balanced. So things like that. Do get out and you want a job done. The D's go out there, but they don't listen to enough detail sometimes, and they just go and do it, and they keep having go at it until they get it done. So really, anybody can be any style and be like I've met all sorts of industries, all sorts of people in industries, like these different styles, and I wonder sometimes how they're actually in that industry that they can do it. So there isn't a dead set style or a dead set position.
Okay, so we've got preferred styles for different roles, but not necessarily an absolute style. So if you're if you're one style, you're not going to be a teacher. It's not as cut and dry as that.
No, that's right. Yeah, like they're influential, they're fun loving, and they're full of ideas, and they try all different things. If you had a brain surgeon they'd be joking around, and you're starting to get a little bit concerned. But they can do it, It's like I always say, my wife and I say, oh, I'd hate you to be the pilot of my plane. We'd be in a bit of an emergency and say, oh, what's this button do? Let's press it. But, you know, but there is pilots that do come out of the I quadrant. So yeah, we can do it.
Okay, great. It's interesting. Sorry, not interesting. Todd's just put a comment up here. I think it's a comment, and he says, "Don't just answer that with I'm just being a D. It could be taken the wrong way." And I know in our business, you know, we've certainly had that experience. You need to not only be aware of your personalities and those around you, but you can't hide behind it either. Would you agree with that?
No, you can't. Yeah, definitely. If you've studied this and you're aware of what you are, it's not an excuse for your behaviour. It's like you've got to be aware of what you're doing and how you're dealing with other people. And I do hear that quite regularly. When I get something in with them, I usually put it in my team aside and talk to them about don't use that as an excuse. You know, it's like saying, well, I didn't finish that because of an eye. I got bored with it. Well, that's not an excuse. So don't use them as an excuse.
Yes. Okay. Great. And Jenny's asked a question here. She says, can you have a different personality at work versus at home?
Yes, because environment affects your behaviour. It's normal. It's quite normal that your behaviour will be different at home to what it is at work because it's a different environment. And you can go at work. You can go from one environment to another, and your behaviour will change. Now that you do that for survival, you do that for many reasons. But if it's not your preferred behaviour, it can, and you're in that position for quite some time, it can actually become stressful because you're actually you're not using your preferred behaviour, but you're actually modifying the behaviour to fit into the environment.
Okay, great. So could you give us an example, Rob, of a business owner using DISC to solve a simple conflict? How without just simply saying, I'm a D, get over it, or my favourite line, I sign the checks, get over it. How do you... what's an example that we could use or take away today?
Look, there's heaps of them every day. Like I work with a lot of different clients, and I use this with a lot of clients on helping them manage their teams. We had one not long ago where this lady had hired an admin officer. She was a D and the admin officer was an S, and the admin officer wanted to please her boss. So she was very cautious and wanted to ask a lot of questions about which way you wanted to do it, how you wanted to do it, all this sort of stuff where the boss just wanted her to go away and do it and make decisions and things like that and couldn't understand why there was a good conflict there and she was going to sack her. And I pulled the phone away and I sat her down and I explained what was actually going on with the different styles and what the admin officer expected and what she expected and got to sit down and compromise and when she knew what was actually happening and could understand what was happening, the admin officer was still there with them and she worked out she wanted to get employees.
Okay.
It's just little things like that.
So, and she responded. Shouldn't I guess talk specifically about that, but when you talk to people typically and explain the personality styles, they respond accordingly and understand.
Yeah, well, I do. I try and explain it in a way that it actually applies to them in their workplace, so that they can actually relate it to what the issue is at the time, and then later on I'll do a discussion with the questionnaire and get them to learn more about it so they can actually work with their people.
Yeah. Okay, so DISC as a profiling tool or a tool in your business, it's not just useful for performance reviews and hiring. You can use it, in management and all those sorts of things. Use it every day.
Yeah, use it every day. It's something that you should use every day. Everything is to do with communication. Everything to do with relationships. Once you know DISC and you know the style of your team, you can use it to predict how they're going to react to a different circumstance. If you say something, you know why they've reacted that way, and then you can counter it. But it's a tool that you should use every day when you're dealing with it. It's a people management tool. It's not just a performance.
Okay, so we know there's 4 personality types, DISC, and we've got some information we'll send out on the email that explains a bit better to people how that fits, because we're short on time. But if I'm doing an interview, or I'm in my office talking to my staff, or I'm even in a sales meeting trying to close a deal, give me some quick tips on you know, I can't sit down and ask everyone to go online and do a DISC personality profiling assessment.
No.
How can I start to identify who's who in the zoo?
There's 2 axes. There's an x-axis and a y-axis. So so they cross, they meet. At the top, at the top of your y-axis, they're either fast-paced, and at the bottom they're slow-paced. So on the y-axis, it's the speed at which they do things. They're either active or they're steady, and that's straight to do with speed. On the x-axis, it's either task-orientated or people-orientated. Now, the y-axis is quite easy to identify because it's how they move, how they talk. If they talk really quick, or they move really quick, or they use their hands a lot, they're usually very active. If they answer your questions straight away, tendency to be active. On the other end of that, if they move a little bit slower, or they answer your questions a little bit slower, they think about them, they talk a little bit slower, and with a softer tone, they're in the steady tone. The task and the people orientation is a little bit harder, but how I suggest people is to check on that, is to check that, is if someone comes in and asks you to do something, if they're people orientated, they'll come in and they'll say, "Oh, how you going, Rob? How was your day?" All that sort of stuff. And by the way, can you do this for me? Whereas if they're task orientated, they'll come in and they'll say, "Hey, Rob, we need to get this done today. Can you do it?" So it's a little bit of really listening to what they say. Then if you put them on those 2 axes, then you can see, because the B is in the top left-hand corner and go around clockwise, it's DISC. So then that indicates I'm not positive, and that's the only way that you can do it without them sitting down and doing the questionnaire.
Okay, so we're observing behaviour. We're looking to see whether they're fast or slow in their actions and their speech. We're looking to see whether they're task focused or people focused. Are they talking about the job, or are they talking about relationships and people? And then obviously using those axes to determine where they fit on the process. And the cheat sheets that we'll send out.
We'll have that on it.
Yeah, we'll have that on it. So great. We're just about out of time, Rob. Is there anything else you wanted to add quickly?
Look, I can talk on this for days. It's such a big topic. There's been many questions that the people who are listening will have. If they want me to answer any questions, I can answer questions by email me, or email me through you, or something like that. But it's an awesome tool, and the more people that know it, the better off they're going to be in the time along.
Okay. Great. So we'll send an email out. We've got some of those cheat sheets and some stuff that we've promised. Rob, we'll put your contact details on there as well. You're okay with that?
Yeah, that's no worries at all. Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't get our email, anybody that's watching the recording sometime after today, how will they find you? Where can they get some more information?
Kai Vision. Our website is Kai Vision, KAIVIZN, so www.kaivision.com, and my contact details are on that. And then they can contact me, and I'll answer the questions that they have.
Great, righto, and we'll put the website link on the video feed as well. So Rob, thanks very much for don't email address.
No, you can put my email address on there.
Okay. Okay, great. Rob, thanks very much for joining us today. For those of us that are listening, or those of you that are listening out there, I hope I haven't bored you too much. I haven't done nearly as good a job as Emma, but I'm still wearing my learner's plates. The next session will be with Kim Cray, and she's talking about managing people in strongly established cultures. It's going to be a great interview. It's a fortnight from today, as always. It's 12 o'clock kickoff. So love to have you on board for that. Stay tuned. There'll be some emails and some promotion go out shortly. And as always, we'll have the recording of this sent out as well to anybody that's listening, plus anything else. So Emma, have you got anything to squeeze out of the squeaky voice?
No, I just wanted to say that thank you so much, Rob, for coming on board. That website address is Kaibizzen, KAIBIZZEN.com. Did I get that right, Rob?
Yeah, that's right, Emma. Thank you.
Excellent. So go visit that to check out Rob. I thought it was great content. Thank you so much for leading today, Shane. I really appreciate it.
Excellent, Emma. Anytime.
And thank you so much, everyone, for those questions coming in. They were fantastic. We'd love to see more. So contact us at otrain.com.au.
Guys, if anybody else has got a question that hasn't been answered, just put it in the chat window with your name, and we'll come back to you with a direct response. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great week.